You're broken down and tired of living life on the merry-go-round, and you can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out. Move mountains.
I was very suicidal. I wound up staying in the dormitories and asking the RA if I can stay, and that became my residence. Everybody goes through something, and we all need to hear somebody else go through something so we know that we can overcome it too. That weekend, my mom felt she was sick, so she wanted me to spend my Christmas with my grandmother. So I did, and then the day after Christmas, coming back home, I ran into a room because I had a new watch for Christmas. So I ran in, I said, Mommy, look what I have. And she wasn't moving. She was unresponsive. I kept shaking her, and then my grandmother came over and looked at her and felt her. And then she looked down at me and said, your mother's dead. And at that point, I didn't know what that meant. We came outside, and the ambulance came and wheeled her away. And we went back to my grandmother's house. And I'm sitting there for dinner, and I'm like, I want to go home. And she looked at me and said, you won't be able to go home again because your mother's not coming back. She had kidney failure, and she had multiple blood transfusions. After living with my grandmother, because she's a wonderful person, very strict, but yet at the same time very loving. She was that Southern grandma. So even though she tried to filter me and give me so much love and attention, there was still something lacking in me. I didn't get counseling. I didn't get extra help to say that this is not your fault. This was a process of life. I didn't get to grieve as a 6-year-old. I just kind of had to just go through life as normal, but now with grandma. So at that point, from like 6 years old, I was in school trying to mutilate myself and not understanding what I'm doing. And it's because I used to think that I was the reason why my mother was dead. And maybe if I wasn't here, then she would have been alive. So I was carrying all of that guilt. From elementary school to middle school to high school, I was very suicidal. And in middle school, I tried to take pills to try to cope. That was my way of coping with the pain that I was feeling. And I remember they had pumped my stomach, and I woke up and I was angry. I was like, why am I still here? My father passed away when I was 13. He was strung out on drugs. My father was more closer to my sister, actually, and I felt some kind of way about that too, because my sister would have to force him to speak to me. So I always felt like, you didn't want me. Maybe he didn't want me around that, now that I think about it. But when you're younger, you just think, my father don't want me. I got admitted to college in Rochelle. So after high school, that's where I went. And I went there to stay close to my grandma. Like, I wanted to go away, but not away so far that I couldn't get to her. So on the weekends, I would go back home. And my freshman year, she started to deteriorate. She started to get glaucoma in her eyes. And she used to have this thing where she always constantly threw up. She would throw up blood. So I was very, very concerned. And one day I went back home and she wasn't there. So I called my sister and I said, what's going on? She's in the hospital. So we get to the hospital and they're like, we have to do an operation on her stomach. But at that point, we felt that she was too old for that type of surgery, but they did it anyway. And she wound up dying. But I didn't know until I was in college when it happened. And they pulled me out of class and told me my mother was dead. After my grandmother passed away, I wound up staying in the dormitories and asking the RA if I can stay. And that became my residence until I, moved on to Binghamton University. I joined the gospel choir, and that's where I met my husband, now to be husband, back then boyfriend. I got accepted to New York University, and I was also accepted as a graduate housing assistant, which helped tremendously because, again, I was homeless and I needed to find my way back to New York City. And it seemed like everything was, again, going good, but suicide was still haunting me. I just said to myself, I can't do this anymore. And me and my boyfriend at the time, we were on a date. And I just kept telling him, I don't feel right. I feel lost. I feel confused. And he's trying to coach me, and he's like, it's gonna be all right. Everything's gonna be okay. At that time, he wasn't working, so he thought that that's what I meant. And he was like, oh, I'm gonna get a job soon, and I'm gonna be a cop, and da 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 da. And I was just like, okay, but it wasn't that. It was, I felt like I don't want to be here anymore. So we parted ways, and at that point in my head, I said, he don't know it, but this is gonna be the last time I see him. So I went upstairs. And I got in the room, and the window is just straight ahead. And I said, this is it. I can't do this anymore. So I went to the window, and I looked down, and I was just, unfortunately, I looked down and felt free. If I was to jump, it would just feel free. So I got on the ledge, and I went to jump, and I heard a voice just say, stop. And I was like, that's weird. There's nobody in this room with me. So then I got down off the ledge and I got on my knees and I said, Lord, you have to take this from me because I can't do this by myself. And that's when I truly confessed my life over as a Christian and being Lord Jesus as my Savior. After I graduated from New York University, I actually stayed with my aunt's caretaker. She was 95, yeah, and her name was Miss Long, and she lived in the projects on 132nd Street, 131st Street, and it's ironic because every day I look and I go out with my mother right up the street. Yeah. Talk about full circle. And I stayed with her until I saved enough money to get married to my new husband. And unfortunately, after my wedding, she passed. We stayed together for 3 years before I had my son, Devon South. He's now 5.
Skylanders, superchargers.
And then my daughter came in 2013, and she is 3 years old. Yay! I'm a Christian lifestyle blogger, and I write, I encourage people, inspire them, and try to motivate and empower them to just do that, but get rid of fear and have faith in everything that we do. Just this past month, I was at Bronx Community College, and I did motivational talk to the incoming freshman students. So I'm starting to open myself up more to speaking to people about my testimony. Being a mom without a mom is hard. I can't call and be like, oh, Mom, I'm just tired. Can you cook a meal? Or, Mom, please come over here. Tell me what to do. What did I look like as a child? Does she look like? I don't get any of that. Do you love us?
Yes.
Oh, God is first and foremost, and then we instill that in our kids through how we interact with God. Wherever He will reign, my God is awesome.
He's awesome.
Awesome.
He's always awesome.
Awesome.
You know it's awesome.
Awesome.
Yes.
My God is awesome.
If you could talk to yourself around 10, 15 years ago, what would you say?
I would say it's not your fault. I would say you're worth it and you have a lot to offer.
I'll rise up, rise like the day. I'll rise up of the egg, I will rise 1,000 times again. And we'll rise up, I like the waves, we'll rise up, in spite of the ache, we'll rise up, and we'll do it 1,000 times again.
Excuse me.
Hold on, cute.
I think I drink something.
Oh my God.